Hailing you, hailing us from the USS Spacebook. Time to buff up your buffers and engage your warp drive for this episode of our YouTube exclusive, raw, unfiltered, as live Star Trek video, podcast, vodcast, news, views and reviews from the final frontier. With me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. And this week's away team, stroke home team, you get the general gist of it by now. And our chosen mission this autumn-winter season. We are making our way through the amnesiac's friend of genre TV, Star Trek Discovery Season 3, of course. And joining me here in the co-host chair, as always, it's our guardian of forever and our tramp spotter extraordinaire after the last show. It has to be Sfila Betkin, the rabbi. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you very much. It seems to be contradictory to be a guardian of forever and a tramp spotter, but you know, I'll take it. I'll go with it. I don't mind. I guess the guardian forever will see many tramps.
You'll see all the tramps, every tramp ever.
Yes, forever.
And all of their particular little proclivities and habits and indiscretions.
Some may involve, they do have one or two.
Some may involve desserts, some may not, but we'd best not go down that rabbit hole again just yet. I'm certain there'll be something like that will be uttered at some point. But we need somebody to pull us into line. Like I sense we're going there already, so we need our navigator, don't we? Our regular panelist and the guardian of all of sense and reason, I suppose. Let's see what's out there with Keith Isles.
Hey, how you doing?
You all right? Hey, welcome back aboard, my friend.
I'm missing the Delta, so I thought I'd wear the Delta today. So yeah,
it is a bit weird watching this show.
I'm intrigued. Normally you have a Star Trek Discovery Blu-ray behind you. Today you have Batman.
Oh, yeah, it's only to promote something else that I'm doing. So there is it's subtle marketing.
Okay, fine. Go to Home Media Minefield and find out more.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, we're off already. Yes. How are we both this week? Feeling a bit more upbeat, generally.
Well, it's been a few days since I saw Discovery, so I'm feeling pretty good.
It has become it's the strangest thing, isn't it? Because we were talking earlier on. I think we've talked a little bit about this over social media because Star Trek Discovery, doesn't it? It drops around the same time as The Mandalorian drops, give or take the shifting of the time zones. So what I've taken to doing on a Friday evening is to having a double bill, a big geeky double bill of Star Trek Discovery and Star Wars The Mandalorian. Now, the first couple of weeks that this was possible, I was starting with The Mandalorian and then following up with Discovery because Discovery
what a bad idea that is.
Tends to be the longer show. Very, very bad idea, Rabbi. You're absolutely right. Because what I would find is I was going to bed in a foul mood. I really was, and I'm trying not to be cruel. There's a smile upon my face, so I hope there is one on yours too. But yes, it was making me bloody miserable. But since I swapped it around, started with Discovery and finished with the dessert course that is the Mandalorian. Well, it's yes, I'm sleeping a lot easier, Rabbi.
Listen, I split mine between. Okay, the Sabbath in Israel comes in really early this time of year, so I don't watch TV or use devices during the Sabbath. So it starts on Fridays about 4:30, right? So I try and get my episode of Mandalorian before then, but I watch my Star Trek Discovery on Thursday night. Because I don't want to put them too close together. I really enjoy Discovery, and I'm Mandalorian. I really enjoy Mandalorian, and I feel the drag factor of bringing Discovery close to it might just have some kind of magnetic pull of awful.
Yeah, or a bit like when you put foodstuffs in the fridge next to one another, and you could kind of contamination may happen.
We did talk about it a little bit last week. Yeah, you can contaminate food.
You can definitely contaminate your entertainment. Keith, have you got any viewing rituals for Star Trek Discovery or The Mandalorian or anything else?
Yes, I love Fridays because I get Star Trek and Star Wars, and I tend to watch Star Trek first and then Star Wars. But it's this old thing. I always find it interesting that people always sort of pair Star Wars and Star Trek together. Whereas I think, Star Wars to me has more in common with something like Lord of the Rings than it does Star Trek.
Yeah, it's a fantasy.
I view them both as very, very different forms of science fiction entertainment, and unfortunately, because they got space travel and aliens, and they've got "star" in the 2-word title,
it really is. It's just
star in the title. That's what it is. That's what they're slapped together. And also for a normie looks at things like it's got like a Dalek shuttlecraft. It's all the same thing to them, right? It's like my wife when she's talking to me about, I don't know, most things. I'm like, it all kind of goes into like, oh, yeah, whatever. Yeah, okay, fine. But then, when you get into the like, what? You're going to confuse Deep Space Nine with Voyager? I guess it's like, Eskimos have 50 words for snow. Something that and you're intimately involved with, you see the differences. Whereas, if you're not, you don't. Normies don't see that much of a difference.
Yes, every single woman in my life, the main relationships I've had, they've all thought that Star Wars and Star Trek were the same thing.
Wow, yeah,
that is quite extraordinary, really, isn't it?
I mean, there is definitely, I guess, a crossover in terms of the fandom. Most
it promotes the same reaction, doesn't it? And it's a call towards the fan bases doing the silly stuff like we're doing this afternoon.
Indeed, yeah. The debate.
But, Talking about other worlds, other franchises, I thought we'd start out with something which is bound to put a smile on all of our faces, because this was announced the other day that I don't know what you'd call it really. It's not a new sci-fi show anymore, is it? Returning sci-fi favourite, The Orville, is back in production. And we've had that courtesy of Seth MacFarlane. Now, of course, it's not official Star Trek, but we're talking about crossover appeal there, Keith. This is a show with a massive crossover appeal, and one that was initially sort of resisted, but I think The Orville, the people who were resistant at first, most of them have been sort of worn down and have come on board with this show. Mostly because I think it's Star Trek really through and through, even down to the sense of human. But I'm thrilled to see this is back in production, Rabbi. I understand that they had been filming it earlier in the autumn, but the COVID thing is what hit. So, have you any idea when we're going to get to see season 3? Has anybody heard?
I've no idea if in the next 2 weeks America is going to be a smooth sailing, normal place, or is going to divulge into civil war. I really don't. I mean, I really think that America is heading towards civil war, because you got half the country who thinks they're completely right, and the other half of the country thinks they're completely right, and they're both diametrically opposed, and they both think they're fighting for liberty and justice and freedom. It just seems to me in the next 2 weeks, definitely by January, that they are heading headlong.
That's a reasonable question. So, let us know in the comments section. Is the United States of America heading for civil war? What are your thoughts on that? Let us know down there in the description. And while you're there, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because you don't want to miss. This is a unique Star Trek video show.
But hit the like button, okay? Because you
got to get things out of the way. First things first, Rabbi. First things first.
I have to confess, by the way, with regards to the Orville, that I've never ever seen it. I've never seen an episode. No, I've just.
If you like Discovery, if you like Star Trek enough that you like Discovery, you're going to adore. Okay, it takes you a little bit to tune into it, a little bit of time to tune into it, but you've really got to check it out. I think you would absolutely adore it. I really, really do.
I was just worried it was going to just take the Mickey out of the show that I like. That was my worry.
It doesn't take the Mickey out of the show. It takes the Mickey out of the genre, if you see the difference.
Okay. Right. It's kind of similar to Galaxy Quest, which I think.
I love Galaxy Quest.
Exactly. So it's very different, and it's all in universe, but it's like it's got that Galaxy Quest had a pure love for Star Trek, like a pure love for Star Trek and for fandom. Like really, I love that.
Agreed.
So This just has a pure love of next gen, specifically next generation, and an understanding of it, like a real, again, it starts off as a comedy, right? But by the time you get to the middle of the second season, you're into you really care about all these characters, and you're into real Star Trek type drama. I freaking love it. Absolutely love it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think when we find out when, well, we've got the rest of the story. Let's have a quick look because there has been more that's come out. We have the Orville restarts production on season 3, and we've got the old clapperboard shot there. That's time honored, isn't it? That's never a bad thing. But it says, the Orville shut down on its 3rd season last March when all of Hollywood went on lockdown. Wow. That's a lot longer ago than I thought it would be. News of the Orville returning to production today came from the official social media accounts with that clapperboard. And yes, it says the scene was V24, actually directed by Seth MacFarlane. It's not a one-man show. There's a lot of people working on it, a lot of talented people who've worked on a lot of Star Trek too, people who are ex-Berman Trek, ex-JJ Trek even, people who worked just on the movies.
Yeah, Brandon Braga is a producer, I think, on it, isn't he?
Yeah. And the senior editor and co-producer Tom Constantino, he's very active on social media, shares a lot of things. So you really get the feeling following this show, Keith, that the audience and the program makers are really in step and in tune. And if not, okay, they may not be listening. And the truth is they may not care what we think, but they make it seem that they care what we think. And you know what? That's probably enough.
That's enough for me. Absolutely enough for me.
It says work on season 3 originally began in October of 2019, and they were a little less than halfway through filming when it shut down in the March. And they expect the season will take another 5 or 6 months to complete, in addition to filming on the Fox lot. I mean, that set for the ship, for the Orville itself, Keith, it's huge, isn't it, Rabbi? I mean, I've never seen an actual tour of it. You can tell it's massive.
Right, and it's it's a big set. It just has all that next generation design aesthetic moved forward 20 years somewhat, but still really retains that.
I mean, I like the people involved, so I'll have to check it out. I think I was just I was kind of put off by the fact it's a comedy. That was sort of I prefer my stuff more serious. So that kind of put me off a bit. But
yeah.
But, I'd even say they ditch a lot of the overt comedy by halfway through season 1. To the point that when they actually do begin to do it again, you think, whoa, and you think, oh yeah, I forgot that the show did that. Because it ends up, and where it is now, it's no more overtly comedic than some episodes of TOS, TNG, or DS9.
They all had it. I mean, absolutely. All of the shows had their comedy elements, and some of them try it, and it doesn't necessarily work. Like a few of the points from this last episode, they were trying to do a few things that were supposed to be funny and didn't really. I thought the banter between Giorgio and Dr. Kolber was supposed to be funny, but I didn't think it quite worked. I don't know. That was my read of it, that it was written it was supposed to have been amusing, but it didn't come across amusing. I don't know whether anybody else thought
they just haven't got the writing chops. But it says here that I mean, this is hyperbole that we always get with these things. It says this season is a barn burner. Nobody actually burn any barns, please, for heaven's sake. Our biggest episode last year, Identity Part 2, which was breathtaking. It was to the point where Doctor Who ripped it off immediately. It was that breathtaking. Would be considered one of the smaller episodes of season 3.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
All the way. I mean, that is a big claim. And
I have to tell you, the thing that makes the Orville great, and I think makes it great Star Trek, is it takes current social issues and examines them from both sides of the argument, and it really does. Like, there's a great episode about you have like it's not non-binary. You have a planet where a single-sex planet, right, where everybody is single-sex. For example, and occasionally they're all men. Occasionally somebody's born female, and so you have this whole idea like, do you change somebody to fit into their their environment or that? And again, they come to conclusions which I don't agree with. I don't, but I appreciate the debate being put up there, which is what Star Trek was so good at doing, right? And it's always been great at doing it. And I do feel that aching absence in current Star Trek. I really, really do. But in Orville, it's there, and it's it's not only there, it's there exactly right. You know, I when we did the Lower Decks reviews, it was very clear to me that Lower Decks is people who don't understand Star Trek using Seth MacFarlane's pitch document for the Orville. To make another show because they saw the Orville was successful and Star Trek hasn't been.
You're right. You're right. That seam that of warmth and of sort of a very natural way of acting and a way of writing relationships that promotes humour and spirit and just puts you. You know, you don't even have to be. Some of the gags in other shows, you know, and Discovery is not the only show that's guilty of this. They practically come with that sort of way like that. You know, this is the bit where you're supposed to laugh. In the Orville, you don't get that. It's just there within touching distance all the time. It's beautifully put together. And I'll be talking about it on the channel eventually when it happens. I'm not quite sure where or how, but I will be talking about it on this channel.
Yeah, they got 6 months to go. We're not seeing it before
September,
right?
September, October time.
Maybe I can pop up in the meantime.
I think there's only around 12 episodes in season 1. There's not that many more in season 2. They're quite short, maybe 16, something like that. So they haven't made a ton of them. They've certainly made a lot less of those than of Discovery. And I think they started around the same time.
They've made, I would say, 26 episodes of Orville.
Oh, maybe. How many Discoveries have there been? There was about 18 in the first season of Discovery, wasn't there? And then there was 16 last time, was it? Oh, maybe.
Was there that many? Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think because they had a split season 1, didn't they, of Discovery?
Well, it was like a month break they took over Christmas, right?
Yeah, it was. Season 1 was 15, season 2 was 14, and this season will be 13. So, yeah.
We're well over the halfway mark now as we head back into Star Trek Discovery Season 3. And yes, this little beauty here, The Sanctuary, episode number 8, isn't it? Yes, number 8, I think, something like that. Around that. Burnham and the USS Discovery crew travel to Book's home planet in this one to help rescue it from Asira, the formidable leader of the Emerald Chain. Meanwhile, Stamets and Adira, do you remember her? She's the one who looks like Adric. Continue their search for valuable information on the origin of the burn. This one's written by Kenneth Lynn and Brandon Schultz, directed by Jonathan Frakes. He of the Riker Maneuver and all that wonderful stuff, First Contact, all the rest of it. I think he's directed about 20, 30 Star Trek episodes now across various things. Frakes, it's usually a sign of good things to come. He's definitely got that lightness of touch we talked about, Jonathan Frakes, as a director, I think. Great with actors and brilliant at action scenes. And this episode definitely straddles the character moments and the spectacle, doesn't it? But I'm not quite... I mean, firstly, to me, Emerald Chain, they've sort of given us that as if we're supposed to know what it is. To me, it sounds a bit like a sex act, but I'll go with it. If we're going to play catch-up, I'll go with it. This is... I
have to tell you, the Emerald Chain is one of the few things I really like about Discovery. It's one of the few things I go, that sounds really like an Orion Syndergaard. I like that. It's one of the few things I can't think... But like pretty much everything. Okay, my first question. I have a lot of questions.
Yes. Okay, I thought you might.
Was that Book's brother like his biological brother?
His brother, or just his brother?
He's not, or he is. I couldn't tell.
No, that they explain in the episode that they're not biological siblings. They grew up together.
Okay, fine.
Because they relate to one another as if they are. The conversation is as if they are. It's all very Cain and Abel stuff, and yet they don't really appear to know each other that well. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I couldn't understand a frigging word that guy was saying half the time. That the guy, what was his name? I can't even remember his name. The character's name, the Mexican guy. No idea what he was saying half the time.
Jimenez.
I thought it was a terrible performance by him. A bit more, but again, having Book back at the centre of the cast and the nature of this character and his affinity with the biological world, I do find that interesting and it's kind of potent territory. I don't think that Star Trek's really touched on that in the way that other shows have. I suppose it's similar to Avatar and that kind of science fiction, dipping into that territory. So it's certainly viable. But the book character, Keith, in the past 8 weeks, I feel like we've gone from a situation where, oh wow, who's this? This guy's really interesting. He's really charismatic. I'd like to know more about this character. To a situation of, okay, who's he going to be this week? We start with him, don't we? Because obviously this is his home planet we go to. What are your feelings about Book? And does this open up his character for you? Is it all starting to make sense?
Yeah, I did feel this week that, oh, good, Book is back, because he has been kind of pushed to the sideline a little bit in the last few episodes, and certainly last week he was really overstepped. He was just there at the beginning, and then Burnham tells him she's going to stay, and he goes, oh, okay, and that was about it. And I was a bit disappointed with that. So I think the fact that that he was more front and center in this episode, we find out a little bit more about his life and these empathic abilities that he has. I was really happy about that, because I do like the character and I like the actor, and I'm just glad that he's being used a bit more. I thought he was really poorly written last week, so yes, I was much happier with that this week. He
was like a different character last week and the week before, I think, and he seems like an actor who's very present, very in the moment, and reaches into the material and tries to bring it to life.
What did he do last week? I really can't remember.
He simped around after Burnham for about 20 minutes, and that was largely it.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, fine. Okay.
He sat in the cargo bay on his ship, basically, and waited for Burnham to make up her mind whether she was going to leave with him or whether she was going to stay. And then when she tells him she was going to stay, he was just like, okay. which, as I said, I was disappointed with the writing last week. But this week, I feel, although not perfect, I felt that this was more of a step back in the right direction again for me. I
think it was better. I mean, it couldn't really get a great deal worse. I thought last week's was, and the more I thought about it, and the more I talked to people about last week's, I thought it was abysmal. But I struggled with this one as well, though. For the first half of this episode, I thought it was sort of okay, but I had the same problem with the conversations. I was bored. I was struggling to stay awake. I did think I'd managed to stay awake. It turns out I had fallen asleep watching this, and I'd missed. So when I come to judge an episode,
that happens to me a lot, right?
Yeah. I woke up thinking I hadn't missed anything, because the same two characters that were talking when I dropped off were still talking when I woke up.
Nice.
But, I went back and watched the rest.
Yeah, I think, one of the things I thought this episode suffered from a little bit was I thought they had way too many subplots going on in one episode.
There was a lot going on in this. It wasn't a particularly long episode, was it?
No, and there was a lot. I mean, we had people say last week was obviously a very talky episode, and this week we do get not only a space battle, but we get a fight, a fist fight, and all of that sort of stuff. So there's a lot going on here. And we do get a lot of character stuff in there, so there was a lot in this episode. But I did feel that the pacing didn't quite work, and I thought that there was maybe one story thread too much going on.
Yeah, exactly.
And tonally, the whole Giorgio thing, which they brought into this one, I just thought tonally that really didn't work, because, as I said, they were trying to make Giorgio's banter, I mean, we get it. She was scared and she didn't want to come across as scared, so she was given all this bravado, but it was a touch too much, I felt, and I did roll my eyes a couple of times.
Well, they think that we've latched onto this character and that we view her as some sort of Avon.
That's the problem with this storyline, right? It's based around a character that I don't think anybody really cares about or has any empathy for, and hasn't done anything to make anybody care about them. And I just don't understand. Like, okay, she's got this thing going on. Her face blows up with that but I just, like, every time I went back to it, I went, "Who cares? I don't care."
The entire thing with Michelle Yeoh, she's got a lot of charisma, that woman. I don't know whether she's a good actress or not, but she's got a lot of charisma, and she's a good person to have on your squad. And so they've realized they've got this woman, and all throughout virtually the entire history of the show, they've contrived various ways to keep her on the squad because she's a movie star. You cannot not watch her. So they know they should keep hold of her, but they contrive to bring her into the future. Now they're clearly contriving to send her somewhere else again, and it's just all getting a bit much. And it's the big problem with this show. And it's the same with this. They're doing it with Adira now. When that first week she was bloody terrible, this actress. But this, weeks 2 or 3, it started to warm to her a little bit, and they started to develop the character. And now they've sort of bogged her down with all that stuff with the boyfriend that's no longer talking to her, and that whole sort of cringeworthy situation.
They wrote him out already because it's just not working.
Oh, I frigging hope so, mate.
They could have done, couldn't they? They course correct on the fly, don't they, in the show? Okay, listen. Okay, if we're talking about this part of the show, which is, I think the part. Okay, well, there's a few things going on. Firstly, comparing this with Mandalorian is, I really saw it this week. In Mandalorian, had Boba Fett show up, and he's been looking for Mandalorian. He's been tracking him for his armor, right? So I immediately have the question: well, why did you care? Tim Lee Oliphant had it for years. Why do you all of a sudden care? But the difference is with Mandalorian, when it has something I don't understand come up, I give it a pass because it's built up so much goodwill with me, right? So much goodwill. Discovery's built up nothing but bad will with me. Just no. So whenever they have anything a little bit jarring, I'm like, and I'm like, and I'm on a knife head. I'm on a hair trigger.
Yeah, it's like touching scar tissue, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm like to attack. So, but my real problem with this episode is, I know about propaganda. Like I know about propaganda quite well, and I've done a lot of research into I can't say the name of the people, the naughty National Socialists that lived in Germany in the 1930s. They did propaganda movies
their work
about and I'm not talking about ones against Jews. I'm talking about ones like they're talking about the euthanizing mentally handicapped people. Right, this was a big thing, and I see those propaganda movies which pulled on the heartstrings in a very similar, indistinguishable from this platforming of a quite frankly bonkers religion that they all have in Hollywood, where given that they love science is great, and I know this young lady, this character has every scientific indication of being female, right? Like yes, female sexual organs is genetically female, but they don't feel like a girly whirly, so I'm gonna be that this nonsense. This is just utter.
I think the rabbi's frozen again, but I think it's a very feminine character. I think that is part of the problem. And whilst I'm not an expert on these matters, we haven't known this character for very, very long. She is very feminine. She has just been in a relationship with a boy, a young man, or whatever. That's who she's been in love with. So for them to offer us this. In this scene, I mean, in one sense, it's the scene. What the rabbi was about to talk about there was the scene where Adira announces her preferred pronouns.
Yeah,
which is absolutely, in my view. Well, I know what the rabbi was about to say. It's a moment in time, isn't it? It's a very short scene in quite a long episode that moves a character a little bit forward and shows us a little bit more about her. It's completely harmless, and I suppose it could be touching to people out there who feel similarly to this character, and that's fine. It's cool. It's a moment in time. It's been and it's gone. But for me, when we're looking at a character who is a Trill, I'd kind of thought that the character would view themselves as a they anyway. So I don't know. This is a genuine question. This is about the fantasy of pronouns and gender or whatever. Is it? Are they now defining themselves as a they because they are a collective being, or is it that she's always felt this way? I think they believe that they're making this clear, but I'm not receiving it in a clear way.
Right. No, I mean, I think definitely with the Trill thing, you raise a point there. It was quite funny, by the way, seeing the rabbi there freeze mid rants, because it's funny. I've been thinking about this because I just knew coming into this that he would have an issue with this. Okay. And I actually thought that this was one of the parts of this episode. This was a problematic episode, but I actually thought that this was one of the parts that was actually dealt with quite well, in my opinion. I know it's going to get accused of being virtue signaling and all of this sort of thing.
Well, it's because of what the rabbi was saying, isn't it? It's perfectly reasonable. And in another show, if that was in The Mandalorian with Cara Dune saying that, you'd be fine with it. But because it's this show, which is so continually annoying about and persistent in its political leanings, then it's the scar tissue thing. It's ow, ow,
yeah,
like that.
I get that, but likewise, I would, as I said, I've been given this some thought, because I think, and the way you framed it and raised it is you've done it in a very good way, I think. I know it's going to be one of those things that people are going to be a bit divisive about, and I've been sort of trying to think about, what do I think of this? How does this fit into Star Trek? Does this matter? Should this be put out there? I mean, we knew from the start that the actor here identify as non-binary.
This person on screen,
yes,
there,
this actor,
the actor.
They identify as non-binary, and I'd looked that up before, so I was always a little bit surprised that the character was being referred to as a she or her during it. So I was like, well, I'm surprised. They've cast an actor. They've cast an actor. See, I'm making the mistake. Sorry, they've cast an actor who identifies as non-binary.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I may have heard that 2 months ago, but then I just don't. I don't kind of latch on to these things. You know what I mean?
Well, this is the thing, and obviously the series up until this point hadn't dealt with that. As I said, they'd been so obviously the character Adira pulls Stamets up about it this week, and the reason I didn't have a problem with it is they addressed it, they did it, and they moved on. And I think that's absolutely fine. The other thing I was thinking about, because as I said, I knew that this was going to come up today, so I've been thinking about it, and I think, the way we've got to look at this is Star Trek, is not just aimed at middle-aged guys like us, right? People who grew up with but people who grew, exactly. I hate to admit it, but people who grew up with either the original series or the Next Generation era, right?
I don't think any of us would want it to be aimed just squarely at us.
And I was thinking, if somebody in their late teens or early 20s is watching this and is a fan of this, Star Trek's always been about representation and diversity. It always has been. Back in the original series, it was about having officers on the bridge that were people of color. And now, we've moved into the 21st century, and we're dealing with characters that don't necessarily identify as male or female. They're non-binary. And I think to myself, that's okay, because the way they handled it here, they dealt with it and they moved on. And I don't see a problem with it. It's a two-way door, the way I look at it. I have no problem with that, but what I do have problem with, and I'm changing the subject slightly here, I know, but is when the Twitter, the cancel culture, the SJWs or whatever that support this sort of thing, I have a problem when they suddenly say, well, we've got to cancel Sean Connery's James Bond because he was a misogynist and it was really sexist. And I think, no. That was a product of then. Okay. And you can't go and delete or cancel history. Yeah. So the way I look at it, I'm trying to be open here. The door swings both ways. I don't have an issue with any of this stuff. In fact, I support it. But likewise, those same people, those same people that push that, some of them are the ones that are saying, oh, we've got to cancel this and cancel that. So it is a fine line. And there you go. That's my thoughts on it, which
and there's a double no, I hadn't quite looked at it. Right opposite one another. There is a sort of contradiction there. Rabbi, before you were beamed away then by the Guardian,
I'll tell you,
mid-rant.
Google heard me going against the body, right? Again, if something,
it's harmless, isn't it? Really,
I don't think it's harmless. I don't think it's harmless at all. I think it's incredibly destructive. I think it's incredibly disruptive to society. I think it's incredibly disruptive.
No, I'm talking more about just this scene, though, within the context of the drama.
No, I don't think it's harmless. Again, this seems to me indistinguishable from those 1930s propaganda movies, and it just does. It's putting a point of view with an emotional with an emotional pull to bring you into a conclusion that they want to bring you to, and I just don't think it's. I'll give you. I'm not for excluding ideas or worldviews from Star Trek, but where is there why is there nobody propagating the people who believe the Earth is flat? Why, if somebody believes the Earth is flat, why isn't that represented in Star Trek, which has roughly the same scientific basis, right? No matter how people scream, roughly the same science, but and
they just fly the spaceship around it.
There's lots of point of views. This just happens to be a very fashionable point of view in Hollywood.
I tell you what,
I don't think it's doing any good for the world at all.
Although I said this is harmless, I'd say that, and for everything that I agree with everything that you've just said, Keith, I've just realised that when I was watching this, even though I'm watching a show that's set 800 years in the future now, when I was watching that scene, when I was watching that scene, I did feel 2020 slap me in the face. Oh, wow. I wasn't thinking, oh, wow, look how far we've come 800, 1,000 years in the future. I was actually thinking of present day Twitter, present day concerns.
And present day.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Rabbi.
If they weren't morons writing this, which I think they probably are, if they weren't morons writing this, they would go, well, if this outlook is such an incredibly important part, and we're at a turning point in human history, how come 1,000 years in the future is still a big deal to go, I'm a they, them? No,
you're right. It shouldn't be a big deal. But this is the thing. I don't think in the context, if this had been a whole episode, just about pronouns, I would see your point, and I would think, okay, hold on, they're being a bit preachy here. We get it, right? But it wasn't. It was a scene that dealt with it for the character, and they moved on. And I don't see a problem with that.
Just for this, there's no other function for this character other than to be a non-binary.
I have been wondering if for the last few weeks we've been waiting to get to this moment with that character, and I think what the Rabbi is pointing to is the fact that is why Adira is there. That's why she was created.
No, she's instrumental. Oh, sorry, I'm saying she. You see, I'm getting it wrong. Sorry, the character. They are instrumental in solving the mystery behind the burn. They're not just there for that. They're there serving as a character, serving.
They've got this so wrong. See, I keep forgetting that's what she's supposed to be doing, because we see her so scantily, and they've done the ridiculous decision of putting Tilly as the number one, whereas they should have introduced Adira as a character, fine, as a Trill, as a host or whatever. as a they and a they, whatever, but they should have introduced a character like Adira from this time as the new number one, who could do all that and be actively pushing to solve the question of the burn. That it's where they got Michael Burnham doing
and what better representation would that have been as well? So I mean,
you're right.
I agree. I would have preferred something like that than the decision to have Tilly. Much as I like Tilly, but I would have preferred something dramatically like that. Yes,
it doesn't work. So why have they done this? Because all they've ended up doing is shunting her down into the lab to work alongside Stamets, which is kind of creating. I've seen a lot of people talking about this online. So they've kind of grouped all of the gay and queer characters sort of clumped together, and they've had this sort of they've created this really segregated version of the future.
Point. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way, but now you say it, you're right.
I don't think they've done that on purpose. I think that the reason why that has happened is as fallout from the fact that these writers just aren't very good, aren't very experienced, and aren't adept at creating and maintaining a fluid, in the general sense of the word, a fluid exchange between characters who can talk to one another, no matter what their gender, orientation, race.
I agree
on any
with
level,
that.
and come together and work together. So they've got them in these little pockets because they can't because they believe that society should be like that, and everybody should wear a label. And you stand over there, and you stand over there, and you've been cancelled, and you're okay. And I think that's the large problem with this show creatively, and why 2.5 seasons in, Alex, we're still waiting for this show to really come together. Every time we get a grip on it, it slips away again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you've said there. I mean, I think I hadn't looked at it that way actually, but
neither
now
did I. So I was thinking.
But the thing is here, what they've kind of done as well is they've kind of leaned into that awful trope of being a teenage genius character. We've had this loads of times in sci-fi, and we've had it in Star Trek, for heaven's sake, right? And they've linked into that. And again, they haven't really thought that through because, as we've discussed before, the whole age of the character doesn't really work with the character's backstory. We've talked about this before, how in order to have had that relationship, they would have had to have been like 14 or something, which seems a little weird, because the character's so young still, 16 or whatever is it, I think, at this stage, and the actor themselves, they are in their early 20s, so why couldn't they have made the character in the early 20s? It would have been a bit more believable. But you're right, it's almost like they haven't really thought that they've done it before they've thought it through, if that makes sense.
They had one thought in their head. They wanted a teenage non-binary character. That was the only thought in their head, and they filled in the blanks badly around that. I mean, that Alec Curtin said, we're using Star Trek as a platform. Now, if you want to address the idea of being non-binary in Star Trek, that's fantastic, right? Yeah. And listen, for all I know, one's mental outlook, definition of oneself may indeed trump, all the scientific biological indicators of gender. That I don't know. I don't know what reality is. I really don't. Yeah, but they have these characters who are. Firstly, I hate that they have all the LGBTQ people put together in one ghetto.
I've just said similar things.
That's very interesting, isn't it? These people are segregationists because they're morons and they don't understand that. Again, I keep going back to that, but they are. But they haven't again. But also, these are the people who are supposed to be. I love science. I'm working out the source of the burn. And you can't have both, all right? These are two fundamentally contradictory ideas, which is... Oh, you're getting onto something else that annoys me. Why couldn't they make Osiris hot? Really? Why can't they have a dress for the female gaze?
Why have they
that was a
all
male
got-
game. Like,
why have all the Osirans all of a sudden got these weird plastic faces? That is the actress is Janet Kidder, the niece of Margot Kidder, the legendary star of Superman the movie and Superman 2 and various other movies. What was it called? The Amityville. I think she's
Amityville
Horror.
Horror.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Amityville
wonderful.
Horror.
Wonderful, much missed actress. That's her niece there. But again, they've given her this sort of weird face, which has given her this kind of Brucey Forsyth look. We've yet again, I think this is all 8 episodes, stern-faced woman who is the mastermind of absolutely everything, as Osira goes. And the Osirans generally, I like their place in Star Trek, the former slave race, now heading up this sort of emerald chain business. That's fine, that's okay, may as well be them as anything else. But yeah, she's not very good, Rabbi. Go on, what's winding you up about this?
Nope. Is he frozen, or is he just very
frozen,
still?
yeah.
He's frozen.
They don't have to put her. Yeah, he's frozen again.
Yeah.
They don't have to put her, Osira, or anybody else in an animal skin bikini to make her attractive, engaging, and command the screen. And I don't think this character does command the screen.
I mean, she is dressed to not accentuate her physical beauty. Yeah, she's addressed not to.
Oh, we've lost him again.
Yeah.
But
Alex Kurtzman keeps picking him up.
historically, we had always seen the Orion women as being, quite sexualized, hadn't we? I mean, that's actually part of their character makeup in the show. That's not being sexist. That is what historically in like Enterprise and the original series and all this sort of thing they were. Me and Pete were talking about this on the podcast actually, and we felt that the issue with this was more, let's forget the physical here, but more that this is supposed to be the big bad of this season, and she didn't come across as particularly threatening. No. Did you feel that?
No, nowhere near on the same level as that woman, that Romulan woman from Picard, who
yes.
I wasn't a big fan of how that character was written, but I liked what the actress was doing with it.
Yes,
so I can't remember her name now. She's been in quite a lot of things.
Peyton List.
Peyton List. That's it. She was great in the Tomorrow People and various other things.
Yeah.
And she really worked with that material over in Picard. I think this is a very similar kind of character that's just not.
Yeah, it also, I mean, me and Pete were saying yesterday, we don't necessarily blame the actress here. We just think that it was built up, and then in the writing, it wasn't very well served. I mean, they did the thing at the beginning where, she essentially murders her nephew, to sort of make her look, I'm so evil kind of thing, with the trans worm and all this sort of thing. But yeah, exactly. But yeah, it just, she leaves at the end, and you just sort of think, bearing in mind that's supposed to be a big threat, and we just sort of felt that it was like, meh. It was so what? Yeah,
it's all huff and puff, all really overwrought, but ultimately it doesn't make you feel anything. It doesn't scare you. You were saying, Rabbi?
Oh yeah, I was just saying, look, the male gaze, whatever, and also attractive men and attractive women looking attractive is part of Star Trek. It's part of the DNA of Western entertainment, and to have this again, this is all the insanity that's in Hollywood now. To have this this prudish view of sexuality that if anybody's attracted or made to look attractive, that's somehow a bad thing. No,
you're right. We did an episode where we actually discussed this, and I said at the time, which probably some people will take a sharp intake of breath on, but I've said that Star Trek has always been a sexy show. All the way through, and that's been on both sides. I mean, yes, they've had incredibly attractive people, not just women, but You've had guys
William Shatner with his shirt off look pretty good. Yeah, he just did.
Exactly, and it has been one of those things. And I mean, there's. I agree, not everything should be about that, but let's be honest, Hollywood's kind of hypocritical, because Hollywood has always been about generally good-looking people, attractive people.
I think it's part of the brand of Star Trek, and I think attractiveness.
Yeah, and now obviously Hollywood is like, oh yeah, we can't have that because we need to have all types of people represented. And you know, I get it, but
All
you're
types of
right.
people, apart from
Sometimes
heterosexual people, especially heterosexual white men, they should be represented.
you see, I've got no career anyway, so whatever.
It does make you wonder how the human race has survived for another 1,000 years when everybody is gay. It does really. It's quite extraordinary. In this episode as well, we see this character again. We talk about the Osirans, and we've got the Andorians again, who were used really well in Enterprise. If you remember back
Yes.
in the noughties, they developed them quite a lot. Then we've got this character of Rin who turns up again this time, who's had his antennae severed from the work camp, and it's Osiris trying to hunt him down, isn't she? And because they're running out of dilithium. And she wants this Rin who used to be in her employ.
No sense, does it? Like the whole science. Not at all. Oh gosh, so annoying.
The whole thing is neither here nor there. I keep forgetting about the running plot, which is why I forget why Adira's there. I forget the entire thing. It's not being sold to me at all.
She's there to be non-binary. She did what she said. That they waited a few episodes was quite impressive, quite frankly. But that's what she's there. She is the audience that they want to have. Mess the same way Mariner is kind of the person who looked up to Mariner is the Twitter idiot, who likes the mic drop, right? That's the audience they want to have. 16-year-olds who are the only people stupid enough and have at least have little enough life experience to buy the bullcrap that they are shoveling down their throats.
So anything that can be said in 150 characters or less, and then your mic drop moment, and then then they're blocked. It's like Twitter, but in real life, dramatized.
Yeah, not really in Star Trek.
Yeah, so I don't. This Siren, this Andorian character. Why is this not working for me? Why does this actor seem really awkward in the role? And why don't I care what happens to him? They keep bringing him on.
Well, the actor, just to give you a bit of background here, the actor is actually the husband of Mary Wiseman, who plays Tilly.
Oh, okay.
That's actually her husband in real life. So they actually did get to have a scene together in this week's one where they talk about the dilithium issue. Yeah, I mean, they set him up a few episodes back, and obviously they've brought him back here. You have to remember, like in Enterprise, Jeffrey Combs played the main Andorian that we knew, Shren or whatever his name was. Yeah, and he's an incredibly charismatic actor. So I don't know whether maybe we're just missing that character. I don't know. I mean, the character seemed to be in this more for plot reasons.
And you know what? The actual plot, it was pretty simplistic, but it was sort of okay. I mean, I thought the first half was just plain boring, and so I can never really consider an episode to have truly worked if it sent me to sleep in any quota. But when I went back,
a good thing,
no, it really isn't. So when I went back and watched the rest and watched the second half, I thought, okay, at least there is something. It's a bit more of a broader interest. The action and adventure scenes. I mean, this character, some of the characters they introduce work, some of them don't. Yeah. I like the fact we see this planet. I like what they're showing us again about Book. It almost makes it backtrack a little bit, makes up some of the distance with the character that had been put between me and him over the last few weeks. So I'm starting to be able to relate to him again. And them together as well, Book and Burnham. I was talking last week about Anthony Rapp, how when the guy Wilson Cruz, who plays Culber, when he's acting across from anybody else, the character, I just think he's. I'm sorry, Wilson. I think you're terrible in this role. I really do. But Anthony Rapp being a class act, he can bring out the best in him. But with Sonequa Martin Green and the guy who plays Book, I think they're on the same level, and I think they work really well together. And because he's so good, and because I believe that he likes her and trusts her so much, I'm starting to like Burnham a bit more because he likes her. You know.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. This week wasn't the Michael Burnham show. Obviously, she was key to it and had a lot to do in it, but it wasn't just about her this week.
They were a team. I won't even say they're a couple. They were
a team.
Working as a team.
They were a team. The other thing I like is although they're obviously setting up, more things in this episode, like like what's going on with Giorgio and this possible threat from the Emerald Chain, and all of this sort of stuff. They are also, to be fair to them, paying a few things off. I was quite glad that we got to explore a little bit of Detmer's story in this one, because that was something that they had set up early on in the season, and they've had a few episodes where they've not dealt with it, but then they've brought it back to the forefront here. And this episode for me was,
I like the actress in this role. I think there's something about her. I do like her. I'm glad they're using her more. Yeah,
I know. I agree. I think she's got the chops and deserves to. Emily Coots is the name of the actress, but she deserves more time. But what it is with me with this episode is I felt that this was just a bit of a mixed bag. So I didn't think it was all bad. I certainly didn't hate it. I thought it was an improvement on last week, but I just felt that not all of they've got a lot going on, and not all of it worked. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. They tried with the humor thing as well with Saru's catchphrase, and I don't know about you, but that didn't quite work for me either.
It's the scripts just aren't good enough, and I hate to say this, Mary Wiseman, I like the fact that she likes her role so much. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Doug Jones, Country Mile of
I was just looking at this picture, and I think this is why that Andorian character doesn't work. I thought he was in his 40s, right? He seemed like in his 40s, but like the way he looked to me, I thought he was a little.
No, he's young.
Now I see him without his makeup. He's 12. Okay, so I just don't think he has the chops to sell this role with somebody who I'm looking at this guy, and it looks like somebody who's never experienced any form of adversity in his life. Right, and I don't think. I think that's why he probably can't sell somebody suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever, because he's just a freaking kid who doesn't know what he's doing.
He has got that vacant look in his eye, bless him, hasn't he?
Yeah, I just googled him, and I'm like, oh man, he's that young. Okay,
they seem very contented together, which is lovely.
Look, I'm happy for them to be happy, and happy for them to have a good life. And look, honestly,
they could have found somebody better. They could have found a better actor, I think, is what you're pointing at, for a key role like that.
It's not a better actor. It's a more apt actor.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like Hollywood always does. There's a little bit of nepotism going on there as well, right?
Like Keith, to be honest with you, I think if you played that role, I would be connected to that character.
Oh, right? Thank you.
But no, I genuinely do, because I think you've seen more of life. You know how to do it. I think this kid.
You're calling me old.
What?
No, I'm just joking. You're calling me old.
It's just idiot children running around not knowing they're idiot children.
Yeah. Now, I must admit, I didn't think that particularly worked in this episode. But as I said, it was a bit of a mixed bag, this one. But I did think it was a step. I did think it was a step back on track compared to where we were.
Yeah, and I think it was almost cinematic as well. I mean, the scene with for as much as I'm starting to at least enjoy what the actress is doing in the role of Detmer, the way they're writing the story isn't great. Left for weeks on end. But this business where she could just get into Book's ship and be able to fly pretty much with no problems at all.
I'm just not into. I'm not a woman, and I'm not into watching female-centric drama, which is what this is. Because I'm a guy, and it's like, her storyline is 100% female-centric drama, right? It's like her overcoming, her doubling down, her telling the guy to pull it together. Her overcoming. This is all. Again, 100% female drama. Like this is us. I say every week. This is every crappy show my wife and my daughters watch, and I can't stand being in the same room as. And
Rabbi, was season 1 female led? I don't think it was.
No,
was it? It wasn't.
Season 1, those first 10 episodes, they still have Brian Fuller's notes they're working on, right? And so the season 1, I think largely worked right up until that Christmas break. Right, I liked Harry Mudd. I thought they made him. I liked the casting. I liked a lot about season 1.
When you reflect, it seems like a totally different show. I mean, forgetting about the 800 years on in the future, because we still might as well be in the same time. It doesn't look any bleeding different. So forget about all that. It seems like a different show. The ethos of it. You're right. It's something that I hadn't picked up on until you.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things they got wrong. There was. I mean, a lot of things they got wrong.
It was crude. It was a blunt instrument. It was a crude show.
I love that reinvention of the Klingons. Right, I love that reimagining of the Klingons, and I wish they were able to do it better, so they could connect that to the D7 and put it together, and because I thought the whole idea
I always said when that first episode aired, I was on a podcast about it, and I always said what I would have really liked is when they had in the first episode, when they had all the holograms of the Klingons from the different houses there, I would have liked at least one of them to have been like a next gen era looking Klingon. I had no problem with the redesign because nobody not all Klingons from the world have to look the same. It's a bit like they've done with the Romulans now, how some of them have the forehead ridges and some don't, and all of this sort of thing. And I wish they'd done that with the Klingons, and you had a few of them that were long hair and beards, and I mean they tried to course correct it in season 2, but it was they did it in a line of dialogue.
Well, you really see the lack of Brian Fuller, right? You really see the addition of Brian Fuller and the lack of Brian Fuller, right? Because again, it's much more than the aesthetic look of the Klingons, which I thought was great. I thought that really worked. But the when you went down into the ideology of their culture and how they felt they were under attack by the Federation, that's really interesting. Again, I said because at the beginning, I think America's heading to civil war. Why? Because half America thinks they're right, and the other half of America thinks they're right, and they're both saying exactly the same thing, right? So it's inevitable. I mean, hopefully it's not, but I love that with the Klingons. I love that how they made them into that warrior race, because that didn't really make sense. But now you look at it in a more layered way. I love their introduction of religion. There's so much I loved about it, and it's just so sad. And it didn't come together. They could have just stuck with Brian Fuller. We would have had such.
It would have been interesting had we got the Klingon War, but they jumped over that by going into the mirror universe, which I thought was a bit of a bizarre thing to do. But oh well,
they're trying
Brian Fuller's notes. That's basically to give us up to the 10th episode, and he had that's when they ran out of his notes.
And now they're trying to give us this sort of quest storyline, which I think is neither here nor there, really. I thought this was a serviceable enough episode, Rabbi, that did its part to move things along, and it was pretty in places. Some of the effects were great. A couple of the characters, there were archetypes, nothing. For us, we've seen it all before.
What do you want?
Well, put it this way. Okay, because again, I knew this was going to come up. Certainly, as of midnight last night, I don't know what it is now, but as of midnight last night, Discovery was the #1 show on Netflix, and The Crown was #2. Really? So people out there like Discovery, regardless of what you and many of your listeners think. People out there are watching.
You know what? I do not believe those numbers. If Discovery wasn't in, it's on there. I think the number you quoted was truthful. However, I think it was perhaps a manipulation because if that was the case, they wouldn't be hiding the numbers on CBS All Access. The numbers, whenever we see them in any open forum, are disastrous. You can't have say, it's the most successful thing ever here, but over here, you take one step over, nobody's interested in it. That doesn't make any sense. I believe they might have spiked for a minute or something. The Crown's been out for a couple of weeks and people have finished watching it, and then this just dropped. I mean, that might have happened. But like,
I'm sending it to you, Dan, so you've got it as an image.
Please do, because of course Netflix.
You should have it on Messenger.
Thank you.
Now,
because of course Netflix are well known, aren't they, for not publishing numbers as such, but they do put out charts now and again which do show, particularly the movies, their own produced movies, a sort of a general rundown of what's doing well and what isn't, and all that sort of thing. So usually I'm aware when something is the biggest show on that platform. And yeah, for a long time, I think it has been, since Stranger Things, it probably has been The Crown. I hear people talked about Stranger Things incessantly, and I'm sure they will again. I've heard people talk concentrated about The Crown for months now. And fair enough, this figure's come out. I'm not saying it's not true. Who am I to question that? But why have I still not heard a single person talk about Discovery? I'm staggered.
We do every week. We do every week.
But normal, non-geeky people.
Right. Why is it not trending on social media? It's like you have all these indicators that show is that really not. I think that's just a reality. I just think it's not popular, and it seems to be strange. So you have it. Oh no! Look, it did well. That's probably the anomaly then, right? And there's got to be a reason behind that anomaly. It seems so bizarre to me that, like, again, The Crown's been out for a couple of weeks. People are basically wrapping up watching it. I'm very slow at binge watching. I have to go, and I'm like riveted to it. It's a chore, and I just don't know anybody. And I know lots of. Actually,
He's frozen again.
I think he has.
I have sent you the screenshot, Dan.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that. Maybe there's been a lull. I don't know. With popular culture, you're aware when a long-running show or even a mid-tier running show has dropped something huge that has had a major effect, not necessarily on popular culture, but on the run of a show, to the point where it may break out and become genre news. Oh, wow. Last night was the episode where, like The Mandalorian did this week.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it?
That was the episode where we saw Boba Fett again. And everybody is talking about that. If Discovery has spiked somehow, which episode was it and why? And because it's sort of meandered on for the last 2 months, and thinking, oh, okay, fine, as the rabbi would say. Okay, I'm not going to discredit. I'm not going to call anybody a liar. But I think
I was surprised when I saw it. Yeah, I was surprised when I saw it because, particularly as it had been above The Crown, for example, which I know lots of people watching The Crown. So, I was just surprised when I saw it as number one. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe people are going back because obviously when they say that something is number one on Netflix, what they mean is when they say The Crown, they mean all 4 seasons of The Crown. They don't mean this week's episode. They mean that at the moment people are binge watching
trending
hell out of that thing. So maybe people have realized or discovered, because Star Trek Discovery has been rebranded this year with a bit more of a recognizable logo and something that, posters that are a little bit more aspirational, a bit more exciting than in previous years. And the cast is looking a bit more attractive, I suppose.
And I think for the most part, it's delivering on that. I agree that
do you think that people are seeing this art? But do you think that people are seeing this artwork and recognizing, oh, that looks like Star Trek, I'll go and watch it from episode 1. So maybe that's why it might be lifted. People are going back and watching the whole thing and binging it.
Well, the thing that logo is badly missing is the Star Trek Delta somewhere. Yeah. That is what is universally recognized as, is the Delta, isn't it? Is universally recognized as that's Star Trek.
And there's been a concerted effort to relaunch this show this year.
Yeah.
So maybe it's having a good effect, which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's as I said, I know every week I'm here sort of playing devil's advocate and defending it, and I am genuinely enjoying this this season. I'm much more excited about it. It feels much more like Star Trek should to me. And I know I get that there's loads of people that don't like it, and that's fine too. I'm not saying everybody's wrong. I'm just saying that I'm enjoying it, and I think they're trying.
I've been engaged by it in fits and starts, and there was a point where it could have won me round. Now I'm getting to that point where I'm going, kind of almost like looking at your watch, think, okay, how many episodes are left of this again? Come and show me something more interesting. Come and start pulling this together. The stuff with Georgiou, I find Michelle Yeoh such a curious person to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that next week. She's learned that she's dying, and but of course we've got the thing where she's breaking up, and Culber says, it's not that cut and dry, and all that sort of thing. I'd be a bit more interested if it had all been embedded a bit better. The entire season was crafted with a bit more grace and artistry. And I think that's what's lacking on this show.
Those are all fair comments. I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable.
They have all the tools there in the kit to make television that should be compelling, and to make Star Trek that is progressive, properly progressive, and forward thinking, and intellectually exciting, as well as being spectacular. Frakes delivered on the spectacular again, and of course, Pretty Pictures are never going to go amiss. And there are people out there who, were really, really impressed by that fight, that space battle. I found it all a little empty, and maybe that's my age that's showing there. Maybe it is, and I'm prepared to accept that because it was an average episode of sci-fi TV. I can say that. Wasn't at the depths of last week. And we have around 5 left. Yeah, I was hoping the Rabbi was going to come back in and give us his sort of truncated review, because he's been interrupted a few times this time, bless him, and he does like to.
I think we all know. I think we all know what his review is, don't we?
Yeah, so wind him up and let him go. Well, whilst we're waiting for the Rabbi to appear again, Keith, why don't you remind us of where people can hear more of you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I mean, from a Star Trek perspective, I co-host a podcast which is called Let's See What's Out There, and we've been breaking down every episode this season of Discovery. We talk about some of the production side. We talk about Easter eggs and references to other Star Trek. We make a few predictions as to where we think it's going to go. And we talk generally like this about whether we liked it or not.
Mystic Keith gives his predictions of what's coming next.
Yeah. So there's that. We also have a sister show to that called Let's See What's Out There Plus. And that's where we're currently going through season 2 of The Mandalorian with a very similar format. That's hosted with myself and Ryan Holloway. Let's See What's Out There's co-hosted with Pete Mealy, and then I also have a channel called Home Media Minefield that we look at. We do Blu-ray, 4K, DVD reviews and unboxings. I've got a live stream coming up for Batman Death in the Family. I thought I'd do something a bit different with that. That's going live, or by the time people see this, it might be up as a vodcast. Please check that out. And that's me.
Rabbi, you've been interrupted so many times on this episode.
I know.
Do you want to just do you want to sum up what's your general review of this particular episode, the whole thing, and how's the show looking for you as we head into the final?
I threw up an image. I don't know if it's parody or I don't know if it's real, which I think which I think is how I feel about Star Trek Discovery. Like, is this real or is it not? Like, look at it. Here's the trouble. It really could be real, right? It really could. This seems to exude everything Star Trek Discovery is exuding, which I just find kind of obnoxious, right? I find kind of obnoxious and doesn't really interest me as a show. I mean, do either of you disagree with me that this is? This is a
parody. This is a parody account, isn't it?
I
don't know,
but
if you can't read it, it says, "So stoked to be playing the next captain on Disco." F these straight white men and non-feminist females. Non-binary trans is the future. We will prevail.
Yeah,
Hashtag Star Trek Discovery. Hashtag equal pay, less work. Hashtag better than you.
Yeah,
so, yes, I'd say that is a
yeah. I mean, that's very obnoxious, and I get upset with being put into these boxes, like you know, the toxic white male and all of that sort of stuff. It's kind of ridiculous.
My opinion was dismissed. My opinion on Star Trek Discovery was completely dismissed yesterday, simply based on my gender and race.
Honestly,
Twitter.
it just seems to me that this is a fair description of the people who like Star Trek Discovery. It seems to be a fair rendition.
I like Star Trek Discovery. I don't fall into any of that.
Not everybody likes it, but it seems to be a fair rendition of your typical, like, will not brook any other opinion. Yeah, like people get evangelical about, like, if you don't like Star Trek Discovery, you are an evil person to these weird people. Yeah. This seems to be like the people I bump up against.
As you know, I don't do Twitter spats, but I saw an essay which was, I thought, incredibly sexist and missed the point about why people don't like why this show's getting bad reviews, and they put up this essay saying, oh, well, basically, shut up, it's only because you don't understand and you want to oppress trans and gay people and all this sort of thing. And I chipped in and said, well, look, this is actually this essay that you written here, really, it's neither here nor there. It's actually quite offensive and patronizing if you break it down. And I think you'll find if you actually speak to people out there that their concerns and the things that they want of the show, they don't really care about any of this. The things that they want are a bit more fundamental. They kind of just want to be entertained. And that was when I was sort of slapped down, really. How dare you? Oh, so what you're saying is this. And somebody read in, I can't remember exactly what it was, but they spent an entire tweet saying, what you're saying is this. Yeah. And you feel, they told me, they said something like, you feel oppressed and you feel this. I don't feel oppressed. And my reply was, I don't feel oppressed at all. I just feel, I just don't feel entertained. And that's my, and they just wouldn't have it. They just rephrased the same thing and kept firing it back at me, trying to sort of, as if they'd get a different answer key.
Yeah. Unfortunately nowadays, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. There's a lot of people out there that it's like, in the news this week, there was that whole thing about, trying to cancel Kurt Russell just because Kurt Russell said that he didn't want to voice his political views about anything, and he got criticised for that. And it's like, oh, I support
the Avenger. Was it? What's it called again?
Chris Pratt, who plays.
Chris Pratt, because he didn't want to go to a fundraiser, a virtual fundraiser. They tried to cancel him. This is just, but you know what? This is just so endemic to all of society. I got something else up. Let me show you.
Yeah, Chris Pratt and his pregnant wife were supposed to prioritize an online fundraiser, for whatever political party. I think you would be with your family.
Yeah, of course.
This was the other thing somebody sent me on my Twitter feed.
Okay.
It's just so endemic of what's going. Like this, I just saw Victor Dibley's. I'm like,
yeah.
Nobody is. I mean, listen. I don't think anybody sane is on board for anybody's skin color being oppressed because of their skin color, right?
Now, I don't know anybody now who doesn't support the fact that Black Lives Matter as much as any other life. But supporting.
I'll tell you who supports that idea. Black Lives Matter. They're a fundamentally racist organization.
I completely agree. Supporting the sentiment and supporting the organization.
So my choice is I've either got to support this racist organization that's diverse and I think fundamentally destructive, or I'm a racist. And no, I don't agree to any of these options.
People who rioted in the streets of Great Britain and physically assaulted police officers. In Great Britain, they're not even called Black Lives Matter anymore, the organisation. They're called the Black Liberation Movement, and they had a £1 million grant. They are now a political organisation, and this is the BBC, which is not meant to align with any political organisation at all. So not only does it not technically exist, but Richard Curtis, who really, mate, come on. This guy who I've always admired for years for both his comedy writing and his charity work, and somebody sincerely I've always admired him, is now doing this to people on Christmas Day as well. After the year that they've had, this just proves that I did the right thing getting rid of my TV license.
This is nothing about helping a marginalized people. This is about white, middle-class, affluent people feeling good about themselves. It's true in Hollywood. It's true in BBC. It's true everywhere. And we all see through anybody who isn't in them. We all see through you completely. And that's my problem with Discovery. I just kind of see through it. I just see it as these kids want to feel good about themselves, and they do it by virtue signaling without actually doing any good in the world whatsoever. Just doing ill. No matter how good an episode of Star Trek Discovery we get, which we haven't had one for, I will say, since episode 10 of the first season. No matter how, I really believe that. I fundamentally believe, because even episodes where you have good ideas, it's still got Michael Burnham in it being the bestest ever. It's still got this undeniably awful part strewn across it, which I can't live with. I'm sorry.
It's yet to gel, isn't it? It's yet to achieve that place where you think
greenlit for another year. And by the way, I didn't get your thing from your Netflix statistics, but I
sent it to Dan.
Sorry.
I sent it to Dan. Sorry.
Okay. So I just cannot believe that it's. I mean, listen. If it is popular, then great. I'll shut up and move on. If I'm a big Doctor Who fan, right? If this new Doctor Who, which I find awful and offensive in exactly the same way, in fact, it's actually worse than Discovery in a lot of ways, right? If it was popular, if it was getting 8 million viewers, if it was getting 6 million viewers, I'll be like, well, it's probably not for me. But it's not. All this stuff has been on a nosedive since Vickler Dibley. I'm sure it's going to be on the same thing. The expression is "go woke, go broke," and the reason for that is because people aren't interested in you being preached to. And which I feel Discovery, even on its best day, is a 45-minute, if it's merciful, long preach, and I'm sick of it. I am just sick of it. I would rather have the jizz-covered cream pie. Okay, that's how bad it's got right now. Discovery. Actually, would I? It depends how clean the guy was.
We're getting progress there anyway. Yes, so we're within the finishing line. At least only a few more episodes of this show. You'll be pleased to know. But we'll be back with some more. Let us know what you think of this conversation. I found a lot of food for thought in this episode. Some of the things that you said, Rabbi, they really have. It's got me thinking about things which, I did think were quite harmless. I'm starting to remember how I felt watching it and process it in a different way. So my mind's open. Is your mind open? Is the comment section open? Let us know what you think. Drop us a link. Drop us your ideas, your questions, or just your rants or raves in the comment section down there. After you hit the like and subscribe to the channel, of course. It would be rude not to at this point, wouldn't it? After all these weeks of entertaining you with these outrageous reviews of Star Trek Discovery every week on Warp Drive. That about wraps it up, I think. Just time to remind you that it is today, I would imagine, when this video drops, we are about to drop the next episode of... No, that's the wrong one. We're about to drop the next episode of Teleport. Blake 7 podcast. So that's coming out across the podcatchers bit by bit as I add them, and here on the Spacebook YouTube channel as an enhanced video track.
I freaking love that show. I really love that show, Dan.
Thank you. I'm really, really proud of it. It's really coming together. If you like that, you're going to love the relaunch Type 40. That's coming soon too. It's good stuff, even if I say so myself. Yeah, I think that does cover it for now. I think we should do when it gets the finale of Discovery Season 3, maybe we should do that live. I think it's just early in the new year, isn't it? And see if we can drag other people on board, get a live chat going. What do you think?
I'm up for that.
Let us know in the comment section about that.
I just assume everyone's always asking me my opinions. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm asking your opinion too, because you've got to be honest. Yes, but that is it for now. We're going to beam away, but don't forget, let us know. Get in touch with what you think, or join the Warp Drive Facebook group. That's full of Star Trek fans too, arguing as we are inclined to, but talking about all generations of Star Trek from the 60s to the present day, and however we identify. Yeah, but that's us out this time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.